Selamat datang, salam sejahtera. I'm Chua Eng Han from Virtual Venture Vacation. Today I'm going to share with you our National Mosque of Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Islam is the official religion of Malaysia. That's the reason why you can find there are so many mosques in Malaysia. Basically, you can find a mosque everywhere in Malaysia. So that's the reason why there are a lot of buildings architecture which looks like mosque, but then a lot of foreigners do not know how to recognize whether the building is a mosque or not. So how do we recognize the building is a mosque, right? These mosques, see the first picture, the yellow color dome building, the second one, which has the green color one, all right? And then the third one, which is one of the most popular building in Malaysia. And the fourth one, which is actually our Justice Palace in Putrajaya. All the four of these buildings, they are not actually mosques in Malaysia. So how do we recognize whether the building is a mosque? Yeah, how do we recognize? Even you see like the picture on the left hand side, it looks like a rocket, right? Is this a mosque? Is this a mosque? So I'm going to share with you how do we recognize if the building is a mosque or not. So first of all, whether to recognize the mosque, you have to ensure that the building has a minaret, right? So over here you can see, like for example, this picture here, there are 4 minarets actually, right? And besides the minarets, of course, you have to look out for the domes. But then please be well aware, not necessary that all these mosques, the rooftop must be a dome, not necessary. But most important of all, due to Islamic geometry design, it has to be symmetry actually. So like for example, there are some mosques in Malaysia which are not domes at all. Like for example, if you look at the left hand side, that is actually the Malacca Chinese mosque, which looks very much like a Chinese temple. Yeah, of course, the right hand side top, the blue color, that one, it doesn't look like a dome either. That is our national mosque, right? And on the bottom left hand side, again, it doesn't look like a dome. That is one of the oldest mosques in Malaysia, or basically known as Trengkara Mosque. And then on the right hand side, that is the Kelantan Chinese Mosque. So over here, you can see that actually more important is that these buildings, they must have minarets. So you might question, why do they need the minaret? You see, during the olden age, where the Muslims actually need to do their prayer 5 times a day. The thing is that they use this minaret to measure when is the time to pray. Because during olden days, it is not so easy for those people to have a clock or a watch. So the best way, in order for them to know, to have to do the prayer time, that's the reason why they have this minaret. And on top of this minaret, usually, they will fix those very big loudspeaker, so that during the prayer time, those staying around these areas, the mosque areas, they will know that is the time for prayer. Like for example, in Malacca during the olden days, they used to have those big drums putting on top of the minarets, so that when it is the time for the prayer, they will beat the drums, so that those people who stay around the mosque know that that is the prayer time. So that's one of the reasons why the mosque needs these minarets. So in order for us to recognize that that building is actually an Islamic building, usually, yeah, the Islam architecture has a geometric design whereby it has to be symmetry. Like, for example, dome, or the horseshoe, or the star. Now, of course, our national mosque is also built in symmetry, and it is actually located at Jalan Sultan Hishamuddin, Kuala Lumpur. It is actually right in the city center, whereby it is just a walking distance, probably about 1 or 2 kilometers away from the very famous Independence Square of Kuala Lumpur, or which is just right opposite of the old railway station. Now, to visit this national mosque is actually a free entrance. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, actually in Malaysia, most of the tourist spots in Malaysia, or basically Kuala Lumpur, no entrance fees required. They are free, totally free. Now, for the visiting hours for the non-Muslims, please take note. Monday to Sunday exclude Friday, that is in the morning session, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then in the afternoon is 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then in the evening is actually 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. So basically, if you are not allowed to visit the mosque, is actually during those prayer times. And as for Friday, if you observe it well, right, please take note, there's no morning session at all. The very main reason is because those Muslims are required to do their prayer on Fridays. So that's the reason why on Friday, basically they are only open to the tourists from 3 to 4 p.m. onwards. Please take note on this, whereby proper female attire are required when entering the mosque. Basically, to the Muslims, they are required to close, or basically not to expose their aurat. So basically, what is aurat? That is whereby the whole body, except for the female's face and also the palm, that is for basically the hand. That is whereby they are not allowed to show off their body. So basically, that's the reason why when the females wanted to visit the mosque, they have to really close up basically their entire body. So if you look here, these three ladies, basically their clothes or attire are not accordingly, right? For example, miniskirt, or even the lady in the middle, whereby even though she puts on, her tudung or the headscarf, yeah, but then because the clothes is tight, it shows off her sexy body figure. So that's the reason why not allowed. And then on the right hand side, the female is actually wearing short sleeve. It's not allowed at all. All right. Now, as for male, the proper male attire when entering the mosque is basically, all right, if you look the simplest way of casual clothes, if you look on the right hand side, even though it is a short sleeve, round neck is fine, right? And as for the pants, it has to be long pants, no short pants at all. Reason is, for the Muslim, the aurat is actually, they have to close from the stomach navel right up to the knee. That is basically the male's aurat. So that's where the males are not allowed to expose this part of the body. So when visiting the mosque, those males basically who are wearing sleeveless shirts or short pants are totally not allowed. Anyway, if you are not prepared on your clothing upon visiting the National Mosque or basically any mosque in Malaysia, no worry, because most of these mosques, they actually provided free robes to you. You see, on the right hand side, like for example, there is this male visiting tourist who visited this national mosque, and he's actually wearing a short. So that's the reason why he also has to wear the robes when visiting the mosque. So all these robes are actually free, provided free, yeah? Okay, all right. Now, this, when visiting the mosque, please take note, yeah? It's very important that we should respect, yeah, places of worship, or basically places of where, you know, the religion is taking activities. So basically, when we visit the mosque, no shoes or hats are allowed. Please take them off. Yeah. Now and then, of course, you have to be silent mode most of the time. Even if you are to speak or to have a conversation, please automatically lower down your mode. Yeah. And then, of course, no smoking, no littering, that's understood. Yeah. And then, yeah, if you are using a handphone, it is the best where you can put on your phone in silent mode. Yeah. All right. Then, of course, you should not eat or drink when you are visiting the mosque. So basically, through the history, at the very early days during the British colonization, of course, Malaysia does not have a national mosque. So initially, the Kuala Lumpur citizens, basically, when they want to do their prayer, they actually do their prayer at this Jami Mosque, which is also located right in the city center, which is very, very nearby to the Independence Square. Right? So basically, who is the person who mooted the idea again? It is our first Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman. Yeah. So Tunku Abdul Rahman felt that Malaysia should have its own mosque, whereby it has to be located right in the city center for the Kuala Lumpur people to do their prayers. But the thing is that it will cost 10 million ringgit to build this mosque. So during the time, of course, Malaysia government does not have enough money to build this mosque. So the Malaysia government pledged to the people of Malaysia to donate the money in order to build this mosque. So Tunku successfully collected the money to build this mosque, right? So they basically built this mosque between 1963 right up to 1965. After the mosque been completed, actually they wanted to name the mosque. A lot of people proposed that this mosque to be named under our first Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman. But our first Prime Minister did not want to be named, this mosque to be named under him. The reason is because he felt that the whole country's Malaysian, from all folks or from various races donated money in order to build this mosque. So that's the reason why he personally felt that the best name for the mosque is actually the National Mosque. So when this mosque is completed, basically this mosque can accommodate 15,000 people, whereby it's 8,000 indoors and 7,000 outdoors. Then if you see on this building layout, basically these are the facilities, yeah, that you can find in the building. Number one is the main prayer hall. Number two is the women prayer hall. That's where usually the males and the females are separated when during the prayer. So of course, in this national mosque, they even have a library and they have an imam room. Imam is actually the head of the religion, yeah, of the mosque basically, and the administration office. And number four is the veranda, which is right in front of the main prayer hall. And then they even have a conference room. They have a national mausoleum, or basically the hero mausoleum. And then we have a rectangle pool where the minaret stands. There's a minaret as well, of course, because as explained earlier on. And then, of course, there is this open walkway. Right. Now, the architecture style of the mosque is actually basically built on 7 unifying principles of Islam, whereby there are 7 principles, yeah. So number one is actually Tawheed. That is the first word is actually an Arabic word, which means unity and unicity of Allah. So basically what it means by that, you see, all the mosques built on these 7 principles, the principle number one is actually the Qibla direction. That is where almost when they build, they will have to build all towards Mecca. That is the Qibla direction. That is where the direction of their prayer actually, right? Now, number 2 is actually the remembrance. Remembrance is, of course, repetition of geometry, or basically you can find lots of columns in the mosque, whereby it symbolizes the eternal and infinite of Allah. Now, number 3 is actually modesty. That's whereby modesty is whereby you see, if you are at the main road of the national mosque, basically you can't see the main prayer hall, where you can't even see those people are actually doing their prayer. That is actually shielding activities from the public, or basically that's what we call it as the modesty. Then number 4 is actually sincerity, yeah, whereby all the Muslims actually, they submit to Allah, to the God, physically and spiritually. Then there should be this knowledge, whereby this knowledge is actually, you can see a lot of those calligraphy, calligraphy arts, which can be found in the mosque as well. And then there is this balance. So the balance is actually whereby, for example, yeah, simplicity is one balance, and then balance of geometry, that is the symmetry, that is both sides are the same. Then the last one is actually the respect. Of course, yeah, respect good manners to Allah, whereby the people will live in harmony and purity. So if you look at this, basically the whole architecture of the mosque is actually based on the whole 7 principles of the Muslims. Now, and then the landscape of the mosque, the whole landscape is actually built in relationship with a traditional Malay house and surrounding landscapes. So that's the reason why you can see a lot of palm trees basically planted around the mosque, because that's where the Malay villages are usually. You can find a lot of palms, and then you see a lot of pillars there, and they are really ventilated. That is exactly like a Malay house as well, where the Malay houses are built on stilts. And then you'll find that the whole mosque surrounding is actually surrounded by water. So why the whole area of the mosque is actually surrounded by water? Yeah, because the Muslims believe that living things are actually made from water, and furthermore, yeah, before their prayer, of course, they have to cleanse their body before the prayer. So basically, water is also a very, very important part of the Muslims' life. So there's reason why the whole compound area is actually, you can find lots of water. And then as for the interior, it looks very elegant and looks very, very beautiful. Yeah, if you see here, there are lots of pillars. Yeah, these pillars actually, yeah, it signifies the coconut trees, exactly like what I've mentioned, looks like in the Malay village. Then, if you look at the wall, or basically on the sides, yeah, they are actually the precast concrete panel inspired from the pineapple scheme, which, yeah, looks very unique and very beautiful design. Yeah, and then furthermore, these kind of designs will allow the lighting and also the ventilation. So this is actually a superb or fantastic idea to basically build this national mosque, and that make the national mosque so unique and so beautiful. If you look at the interior part, that is exactly where the picture is. Yeah, this is actually right in front of the main prayer hall, whereby lots of these pillars are together because they are actually signifying a bunch of a forest of coconut trees, where they are usually planted very close proximity in together at one area. So this also looks like in a Malay village. At this national mosque, when you climb to the first floor, right, and upon climbing up, if you look outside, you'll find this courtyard, yeah, a round shape which is being fenced. A lot of people will be very curious, what is this thing? This is actually the Qiblat at the court area. A Qiblat is actually to inform the Muslims the direction of the prayer. So that's the reason why in most of the hotels in the room, if you find a green color arrow on top of the ceiling, or if you ever find a green color arrow in the desk drawer, that is actually to inform the Muslims the direction of the prayer, or basically it is known as the Qiblat. So basically, this national mosque, you find a lot of domes also, which, but then from the bottom you wouldn't see it, but from far, of course, you find actually the whole mosque, it actually has 48 domes. And then in the middle, of course, the very main dome, which you can find, is actually looks like the shape of open umbrella. So why it looks like an open umbrella? Yeah, shortly I'll inform you. And then on the left-hand side, or basically behind the main prayer hall, you find the Heroes Mausoleum, which also looks like an open umbrella. All right. Now, for this open umbrella, yeah, and then for the minaret, left-hand side here, you find that it's actually a closed umbrella. Yeah. Now, why umbrella? The very main reason is because, yeah, our royalties are always escorted with a yellow umbrella. So the very main reason is that the umbrella signifies the king is actually the leader of the Islam, and of course, umbrella also protects the people. And of course, there is another very main reason is because due to Malaysia tropical climate, whereby it has lots and lots of rain. So this umbrella, the water, the rainwater, yeah, can flow easily. So basically, that's a very unique and very suitable design for our national mosque. Now, there are actually 16 points of this umbrella, whereby it signifies Malaysia. During that time, is actually known as Malaysia, whereby it has only 11 states and also 5 pillars of Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, please take note over here. I found that actually in the internet, a lot of those websites, they actually stated wrongly that that there are actually 18 points. No, this is wrong. Yeah, why? Because during that time when they planned to build this mosque, it is still Malaysia and it wasn't Malaysia during that time. So that's the reason why it is actually 16 points instead of 18 points. Please take note on this. Yeah. All right. Now, 5 pillars of Islam. So what is the 5 pillars of Islam? Number 1 is the faith. Number 2 is the prayer. Number 3 is the fasting. Number 4 is giving. And then the last one is pilgrimage. Now, as for the first one is the Shahada. Basically, it means that I bear witness that there is no God other than Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So basically, to the Muslims, Allah is the only God. Yeah, there is no other God. They only believe in one God. Now, the second pillar is whereby it is the salat or prayer. So for the Muslims, actually, they do 5 prayers a day. Or basically, if you really take note, the 5 prayers of the day is actually divided into 5 sessions of the day. That is the dawn, the noon, afternoon, dusk, and night. Now the third, if you go to the national mosque, you find that there are a lot of clocks. A lot of clocks in the mosque. You find these clocks, in the mosque. So the very first one, that is the biggest one, that it actually shows the local time. Now the second one, or basically from the left hand side, the smallest one is actually the Zohor. Now then the third one is the Asar. The fourth one is the Maghrib. And then we have the Isha. And then we have the Subuh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering how come from Zohor, or basically, that is in the noon, and then in the afternoon, then evening, then night, and then morning. How do they actually, why do they actually arrange the clocks like that? The very main reason is actually, to the Muslims, the start of the day is not like for most of the people, whereby it's actually in the morning, but for the Muslims, it's actually the start of the day is actually in the evening. Now then the next clock, Imsak. What is actually Imsak? Imsak is actually in Malaysia is already basically noted or stated that 10 minutes before Subuh is Imsak, or basically that is whereby the Muslims are required to do their fasting in the month of Ramadan. So that is the start of the time for the Muslims to do their fasting actually. And then the last one is known as the Shuruk. Now, what is Shuruk actually? Shuruk, all right, is actually whereby when the sunrise, when it has already rise right up to the height or the level of as tall as a lamppost. Now usually it is at about 7:30 onwards, whereby after this time the Muslims are actually not allowed to do their prayer at all. So I've made my research on the reasons why the Muslims are not allowed to do their prayers during this time. Of course, there are a few reasons. Of course, one reason is whereby the Muslims basically, Allah wanted them to work, to find the sources of income. That's one of the very main reason. And then, of course, another reason is whereby there is this belief during this time, that is the time where lots of shaitan or the iblis, or basically the devils, are roaming around. So that is where, if they do the prayer, whereby, they are afraid that maybe, they will listen to the wrong voices. So that's the reason why the Muslims are now not allowed at all to do the prayer after the shuruk hours. So the third pillars of Islam is actually fasting, whereby the Muslims are actually, they have to do the fasting basically every year during the month of Ramadan. Yeah. So they during this month, they are actually not allowed to eat or drink, right? So when do the Muslims fast? Actually begin when the sunset or dawn, and ends at it is at the sunrise of the dawn, and then at the sunset, or basically the dusk. Now, why do the Muslim fast? The very main reason the Muslim fast is actually to realize the suffer and pity the poor who are hungry. Now, of course, there are a lot of benefits for the Muslims when they do their fasting, right? The very first one is whereby, the whole religion of Islam always teaches the importance on these two areas. That is, number one, the psychology, and also physical. So basically, when we say that the psychology, that is the mental health. Yeah. So as for the mental health, for example, these people who really goes through the fasting, they will definitely have very, very strong willpower. This is whereby a very, very good exercise of willpower during the fasting month. Now, second one is the physical. That is whereby, the Islam teaches them to be fit. Yeah. So of course, during this fasting month, they will be fit due to they do not eat. Yeah. Right. Now, another benefit is whereby, of course, as mentioned, the strong willpower, and then the physically healthy. That is where the internal organs have the chance to rest also. And of course, besides this, it also cleanses the mind and the body. Yeah. Or basically, you can say that detox your body. Yeah. Right. Now, and then the fourth pillars of Islam is actually almsgiving, whereby small portion, that is basically 2.5% of the Muslims' income, they have to donate. That is known as the zakat. So this money is actually donated, to the poor, like for example, the old folks home, or basically, those people who are in a very, very desperate situation. And then, of course, the last one is the Haji. Haji is basically whereby the Muslim, they are required to go to Mecca to do their pilgrimage once in the lifetime, if they are actually physically and financially capable. Yeah. So they are actually required to do so once in a lifetime. But then during this time, of course, they will need to take good care of their whole family and to ensure that their family do not suffer. Yeah, their family does not suffer at all during their absence when they visited the Mecca or for the pilgrimage actually. So ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I really hope that you have basically learned or enjoyed this video. If you have any inquiries, of course, I will love to answer you. Of course, yeah, if you want to visit Malaysia, anything at all, if you need any transportation service or any travel agent services, you can always contact me. You can always write to me as well. My email as stated there, and my WhatsApp handphone number is also as stated here. And of course, I will hope that you will like this. You will click like for me and also subscribe. Yeah, as and when I posted new videos. And lastly, of course, I will hope that you will share to your friends and relatives who are going to visit Malaysia. Right? So terima kasih. Thank you very much for visiting my website. Thank you. Bye bye.